Hey, shalom YouTube. It's Mad Celt. How are you? I'm down here in the lair, and I'm putting a final coat of lacquer on this coffee table that my son, the grim servant of death, and I started last weekend. So, just having a little fun, doing some things. So I was wondering, in the time of insanity and crazy and the big T word, the big C word, and they're all coming for us and stacking food to the rafters, what is it that you're doing for your own mental health? Because we got to have some balance in our lives. It's great to stack food. It's great to have skills. It's great to do all the preparedness stuff that we do. But we can get a little burnt out on that. And frankly, we can get a little crazy. Not that I would ever have been in that condition, you know, being mad and all. But I was thinking, last weekend when my son was here, we've been doing some fun stuff together. We've been building military models, building tanks, painting them. I used to do a lot of that when I was younger. And he loves all of that military stuff, and he loves models. So we were doing that. And he doesn't like the coffee table upstairs, so I said, well, we'll just build a new one. So we got to play with power tools and stain and a bunch of stuff last weekend. In amongst all the other stuff that we do. And I was thinking, it's really, really good for me and for him to do some stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with preparedness. What's some stuff that you like to do? Is there stuff that you stopped doing because the world went crazy? I have one of my young guys, guy that I sponsor in AA, come up on Saturday, and I haven't talked to this fella in probably 6 months or so, and he's not one of us as far as the preparedness goes. He's thinks along the same lines as we do, but he's not a preparedness kind of guy. But he was all kinds of jacked up because he was isolated and alone, and he couldn't do all the stuff that he was used to be doing, and he couldn't go out and meet with people, and he couldn't go do the things that really he wanted to be going doing. And he's been isolating and sitting home in his head and spending time on the computer and playing on one of those Xbox things, I guess you call them, and doing a lot of swipe left, which I have no experience with. Thank you very much. I'm going to stay out of that venue. But he was frankly miserable. And we had that conversation about circumstances don't make your life. Your attitude and your mindset makes your life. Things are the way that they are. Things are not going to change to make you happy. The world doesn't adjust to make us more comfortable. So what is it that we have to do to make ourselves comfortable in the world? So we talked for a couple of hours and came up with some suggestions and course of action for him. And the biggest thing for him was, and for me, it's a huge part of my life, and one of the things that I advocate for people that I work with is, what are you doing for somebody else with absolutely no expectation of return? Because that's when we get out of ourselves. When it's all about me, I usually don't get what I want. People don't do what I want. They don't do it the way that I want, or the time that I want. And a lot of us including this young fella and me for a good portion of my life. Only did stuff for people. I had an expectation that there was going to be a return for me. And serving the Father, sponsoring people, I have learned that the best thing that I can do is give away without any expectation of return. And that is what the spirit of service is about. So we had a long conversation about that. That's some of the stuff that he's going to start doing. Hopefully. We'll see. I'm talking to you and I'm not really paying enough attention to this. So there's probably a bunch of bubbles and spots, but we'll sand that down and get that all taken care of. So, yeah. So what are you doing for your own mental health? I built a table. Play with my kid. Made some military models. Make cheese. Which is sort of a preparedness thing, but it's something that I love to do. And do a lot of reading. Planting my garden out for the spring. What else are we doing? I decided to make keto shortbread. I'll let you know how that comes out. The first couple of iterations have not gone well, but we experiment, we get better, we do stuff, we try. And it's one of those things. It takes my mind off the crazy world in general, gives me something for my own heart, for my own self, and I guess the word balance comes in, because if we spend all of our time doing preparedness-minded stuff, we can get a little burnt out, and we sort of focus on the doom and gloom and that everything is horrible. And what are they going to come and do to us next? Some of us need to take a little time off of that, myself included. Get away from the internet. Go do something with my hands. Do something that's productive that has absolutely nothing to do with preparedness. Get a little balance back in my life. I recently got a drill sharpening kit, so I have been sharpening all of my drills. That was 4 or 5 hours worth of, I have nothing else going on in my mind. That was pretty cool. So we've got some plans coming this weekend. My son's coming up. We're going to start building a whole bunch of new raised beds for the garden. We have a bunch of trees that we have to cut down. Little ones, these little crappy birch trees that grow up all over my yard. And I'm going to teach him how to run a chainsaw this weekend. So that'll be fun. Safety first. I'm planning on building a ram pump that my brother Jay Johns of Beef Bacon fame clued me into the last time my well was out. So we're going to be looking at how to do that. I've got all the instructions. I've got to go out and build the part, get the parts and put that together, and that's a cool project to go do. There's stuff that we can do in our lives that give us enough balance that we're not Dr. Doom and Gloom all the time. Because if we're not fun to be around, who wants us in their mag? I've got people who are, every time that I talk to them, it is, what is the next? Ah! Okay, that's awesome. For an hour. What am I going to do with the other 23 hours of the day? And if I'm not taking care of myself spiritually, and part of balance is balancing that spiritual and the physical and the preparedness stuff, I'm no good to anybody. So, I was just down here working on a table. Thought that might be a thought that you might consider. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. Either way. I'm going to go now and check on my my latest brand of shortbread that's in the oven. So, shalom YouTube. Go do something fun. I'll talk to you soon. Take it easy.